Welcome now to those fans who have joined us. It's wild and woolly in Denver. 7:04 to go. 104-101. Denver with the lead and the basketball right now against the New York Knicks. I'm Brent Musburger along with Keith Erickson. Coach Willis Reed of the Knicks has been ejected. 2 technical fouls with 8:41 to go. He was kicked out by referee Hugh Hollins. Wilkerson inside to Issel, who tried to throw it back up. Bob McAdoo, who had checked back in, was underneath, and the foul is against Haywood, his third. And that is a final. Milwaukee has beaten Chicago 112-90. Under Coach Don Nelson, the Bucks showing a lot of improvement with some very talented youngsters this year. The team they are chasing, Danny Issel and the Denver Nuggets in the Midwest Division. Now it is a 4-point lead again, Keith.
Well, that last play, Spencer Haywood let Dan Issel get position right underneath the basket. You just can't do that with this big, strong player.
27 points for Dan Issel, 26 points for David Thompson. They have keyed the offensive end for the Nuggets.
And the Nuggets are playing as a team defensively, too, must be pointed out. I'll tell you, and this is the time when they really start playing it. They really help out and talk.
Critical moment for the Knicks.
It goes to Marcus Johnson. Johnson having an outstanding game.
Oh, just tremendous. And of course, it had to go to him with so many rebounds and so many points, and 7 for 7 from the free throw line.
He had 13 rebounds, 3 assists in that game, 2 steals and 3 block shots. So the Chevrolet $1,000 scholarship will be awarded to UCLA on the behalf of Marcus Johnson. Good job by the 6'7" rookie from UCLA. 112-90. The Milwaukee Bucks have ended the Chicago Bulls' 5-game winning streak as they did it most impressively. They started out with a first quarter lead of 27-24. They led after 3 quarters of play, 76-65. And then they just put it away as they got an outstanding second half performance from Brian Winters from outside and Marcus Johnson, who we mentioned just a moment ago. Now for a report on the New York at Denver game. Let's go now to Brent Musburger and Keith Erickson in Denver.
Welcome now to those fans who have joined us. It's wild and woolly in Denver. 7:04 to go. 104-101. Denver with the lead and the basketball right now against the New York Knicks. I'm Brent Musburger along with Keith Erickson. Coach Willis Reed of the Knicks has been ejected. 2 technical fouls with 8:41 to go. He was kicked out by referee Hugh Hollins. Wilkerson inside to Issel, who tried to throw it back up. Bob McAdoo, who had checked back in, was underneath, and the foul is against Haywood, his third. And that is a final. Milwaukee has beaten Chicago 112-90. Under Coach Don Nelson, the Bucks showing a lot of improvement with some very talented youngsters this year. The team they are chasing, Danny Issel and the Denver Nuggets in the Midwest Division. Now it is a 4-point lead again, Keith.
Well, that last play, Spencer Haywood let Dan Issel get position right underneath the basket. You just can't do that with this big, strong player.
27 points for Dan Issel, 26 points for David Thompson. They have keyed the offensive end for the Nuggets.
And the Nuggets are playing as a team defensively, too, must be pointed out. I'll tell you, and this is the time when they really start playing it. They really help out and talk.
Critical moment for the Knicks. Shelton. 106-103. 6 minutes and 30 seconds to go. Mac Calvin. He's filled in very well for Brian Taylor, who has defected this team. There's the final. Kansas City a winner. It counts. Mac Calvin hits another one outside through the foul. That's 15 points for little Mac Calvin.
Having a whale of a game, coming off the bench and really playing superb basketball. Earl Monroe unhappy with that foul again. I think he just picked up his 5th.
He did indeed, Keith.
Here's Issel bringing the ball over, giving it to Mac Calvin, just taking it up right away, and it looked like Earl Monroe might have just barely touched Mac Calvin on the hand. If anything, it was not a real bad foul.
Williams replaces Monroe.
Flagrant, I mean, not as far as bad.
Keith, now it's 109-103 on that 3-point play by Calvin. 6 minutes and 17 seconds to go. Phil Jackson's going to be checking back in. Jones was there on McAdoo, and Jones fouled him. McAdoo will come to the free throw line. Both teams now with 4 team fouls, so they are out of fouls to give. That is 5 personals on Jones, 6:12 to go. Oh, how the Knicks would love to see Bobby Jones foul out. That would turn McAdoo loose in the stretch. That's 16 points for McAdoo this afternoon. It's been a good one, hasn't it? Hope you've enjoyed it. Next week, another full schedule of NBA regionalized games. Welcome now to those of you who have joined us. 6 minutes and 5 seconds to go. The Nuggets with the ball in the lead. 109-105 against the New York Knicks. Shelton was there, and he fouled David Thompson. I'm Brett Musburger along with Keith Erickson. David Thompson has been sensational. So too has Danny Issel and Matt Calvin off the bench.
Here's an isolation on David Thompson and Lonnie Shelton. I'll tell you, if they leave Lonnie Shelton on David Thompson, he's going to go to work every time down. Lonnie Shelton cannot stay with David Thompson, especially being in a penalty situation. David Thompson will either go to the hoop or to the line every time.
That is 28 points for Dr. D, David Thompson. You'll see him in the All-Star game a week from Sunday. He'll be up against that other Dr. J from Philadelphia, who many of you have been watching this afternoon. McAdoo. Squeezed it so neatly. 111-107. This has been a whale of a game. The Knicks trying to break a 5-game losing streak. The Nuggets 19-1 here on their home floor. Have lost only to Washington that game in overtime. Lob to Jones. Wouldn't stay in. Knicks can pull to within 2. McAdoo. Off to Thompson. Lead to Bobby Jones. It's a 6-point lead. Williams right back.
Welcome back to the Milwaukee Arena. Our final score here, the Milwaukee Bucks 112, the Chicago Bulls 90, as the Bucks ended the Bulls' 5-game winning streak. Gary Bender and John McLaughlin. Let's join John McLaughlin with the most valuable player of our game, Marcus Johnson.
Marcus, you had 23 points, 13 rebounds, 3 steals. Just another day for Marcus Johnson.
No, not really, but, I was glad to go out and play well. This is a game that we had to win. We're getting ready to go out into the West Coast next week, and we need to be as many games over 500 as possible before we go out there.
Mark, the Bucks got beat pretty badly in Chicago last week. Coming into this game, did the Bucks coaches make any obvious changes offensively or defensively for the game?
No, not really. The coaches expressed to us that they were pretty satisfied with the way we played our defense in the last game. I think Chicago shot about 64% from the field that game. They shot unusually well, and we played a good defensive game. They wanted us to not slack up so much on Gilmore, to kind of guard the other players until Gilmore got the ball down low, and then try and help John Giannelli as much as possible. I think John did an effective job on Artis today.
I thought the Bucks' intensity was really outstanding, and I think they played perhaps one of their better games of the year.
Right, I think so too. It's like we say, we know we had to win this one. The Bulls beat us by, I think, 17 or 18 in Chicago last week, and it was sort of revenge motive involved in the game, but we knew we had to win this one.
You mentioned how the Bucks play Artis Gilmore. I think they did a fine job on him. He gets banged around in there quite a bit, but you seem to double and triple team him at times, and other times the Bucks didn't seem to go to it. What determines when you double team Gilmore?
Well, what we try to do is once he gets the ball in low, if he ever puts the ball on the ground, everybody just collapses on him, because once he puts it on the ground, he's not really looking to pass that much. The coaches seem to think that he's not that effective of a passer once he puts the ball on the ground. If he just holds it above his head with one hand, he can pass pretty good looking to his left, but once he starts his dribble going to the basket, he's pretty one-minded. He's going to go and make his move, so we try and offer as much help to the centers as possible, because Artis is so big and so strong, and he jumps so well that it's impossible for one guy to contain him one-on-one, so we try and deflect the ball before he gets it off, or just try and bother him as much as possible.
Maybe put a mountain in there in front of him. That might bother him a little bit. In the last game, the Bulls guards were factors against the Bucks. Tonight, they really weren't. Were the Bucks more concerned about getting back and preventing the break that the Bulls ran so well in the last game?
Right, that was one of the key things in the game tonight. We didn't want Wilbur Holland to do a lot of cherry picking, to kind of leave before his team had the defensive board and wind up at the offensive end by himself. Don Nelson told Quinn Buckner to just go down and guard him and stay in his jock the whole game, to not leave him, just to be a shadow. And whenever an artist got the ball, the other 4 players would offer as much help as possible. But Quinn's job was to just stick with Wilbur Holland, because he's such an offensive threat out there from anywhere on the floor. Really, 20 feet going to the basket, he can do many things.
All right, let's talk about Marcus Johnson. You're having a great year. There are a number of other rookies in the league that are also having good years. Do you feel any pressure for that Rookie of the Year award?
No, not really. Rookie of the Year award has a lot of tradition behind. A lot of great players have won it. It would be an honor for me to win it. But I just think like I'm going to go out and play as hard as I can, play as good as I can each night. And if it comes, it does. If not, life goes on. I just look forward to next year.
Mark, I've had the opportunity to watch you quite a bit, and I must admit, you do some amazing things around the basket. I know that you've been working on that outside shot a little bit.
Right. It took a vacation to Acapulco today, but I've been working pretty hard on it, and I've hit it more consistently this year than I've ever hit it before. And I think it's just a matter of confidence. Maybe one day I can perfect the rainbow jumper like you had in your heyday.
What part of the game do you feel is the weakest? You've mentioned defense quite a bit. You said, when I came into the pros, I was very concerned about defense. Do you still feel that way?
Right. It's just a question of me getting adjusted, getting used to guarding guys who are great offensive scorers night in and night out. In college, I play against really a super offensive talent maybe once every 10, 12, 15 games. Maybe I face them twice a year. But here, it's like night in and night out, there's a guy out there who can score 40 points on you. And that's pretty embarrassing to get a lot of points scored on you, every night. And I have a lot of pride in my defense. And that's one of the things I want to work on very hard this year and during the offseason, and come back next year and, be ready. But like I say, it just takes experience. And I think after I get a year under my belt, I'll be a lot better defensive player next year.
Well, a lot of people consider you a strong forward. Some say you're a small forward. I really don't know what to call you. Size-wise, you're not overly big, but you play big. What type of player, a big guy, a quick guy, a small guy, is more difficult for you to go against?
Right. Well, the toughest players for me to guard, I can handle usually guys who are between 6'8" and 6'10" if they don't carry a lot of bulk. But when I have to go in against a guy 6'9" and 240, or a guy like Maurice Lucas or George McGinnis, really a power forward, or an Elvin Hayes, those type of guys who can do the same type of things I can do, but outweigh me by 20 or 25 pounds, those are the guys that are toughest for me to handle down in the hole.
Well, Marcus, I want to thank you for coming on with us, and you've had a great game. You've had an outstanding year, and, of course, the Milwaukee Bucks playing very nicely today. Congratulations.
Thank you, John.
All right, thank you. Gary Bender, come on in here for a moment. Scott, thanks, Mark. We appreciate it very much. Gary?
Okay, great job. He really is. We were talking at the start of the show. We thought he was one of the top 3 rookies for the Rookie of the Year honor.
Yes, he is. Walter Davis, of course, at Phoenix playing very well, and King, of course, for the New York Nets. But this guy right here is one of the good ones.
Well, you look at his statistics, 19 points and also the 13 rebounds. John, what about the Midwest Division now? You've got Denver running hot and heavy. They're on top, but what are the chances Chicago, Milwaukee?
Well, I think it's going to go right down to the end of the season. Of course, the players know, and they're talking about the fact that now's when they really got to get it together. The Bucks players not playing that well a week ago, and they said, this is the time we have to play. The Bulls know that, and that's why, of course, I'm sure they ran off a 5-game win streak. Now's when they got to tighten up. They've got to use a lot of people, but yet injuries are a factor now. I don't really think, practically speaking, anyone's going to catch Denver. They're just a fine team. They play so well at home. But, boy, it's going to bunch up after that, I'll tell you.
You talk about the difference of a year, the Midwest Division. There could be 3 teams from this division get in the playoffs.
Absolutely, and I don't think too many people going into the season expected Milwaukee to be a potential one of those 3. Detroit, I think a lot of people thought that they would be playing a lot better, but they still have the ability to come on strong. And Los Angeles does not have the record, but they've got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Don't count them out.
That's the funny thing about that Pacific Division. It's been kind of a state of turmoil all year long. Coaching changes, injuries, all kinds of things.
Yes, that's right, and I think injuries are a factor that you have to contend with. And normally, when a club goes all the way, they don't have a lot of injury problems. Gary, they're fortunate not to have that difficulty. And when you do experience a number of injuries, normally you don't expect to go and win a world championship. And perhaps if we looked at the records, we might find that I'm wrong, but I doubt it.
Okay, I want to remind everybody now, immediately following the conclusion of this telecast, we're going to the Grand Slam of Tennis in Boca Raton, and that's going to be Jimmy Connors against Bjorn Borg. Who do you think in that one?
I don't know. I think I have to go with Connors. You mentioned this earlier. He's playing very well, but, that's going to be my next sport.
Is that right?
No, not really. That game is, that's too tough. That's not as easy as basketball, Gary.
Okay, well, we'll be joining Pat Summerall and Tony Trabert for all the action from that. It's Connors and Borg tangling. They just tangled recently in Madison Square Garden in the Grand Prix.
I know. Connors won that one, of course, and I don't know. When they play, you can flip a coin.
Okay, well, our final score here was 112-90 as the Bucks end the Chicago Bulls' 5-game winning streak, and now they creep up a little closer to Chicago in those
Yes,
standings.
they do. Where are you going to be next week?
I'm going to be hosting the CBS Sports thing in New York, and you're going to be out in the mile-high city of Denver.
I'll be in Denver, and that will be Philadelphia, so tune in if you can. That will be an interesting game. A lot of talent in those clubs, and I'm very honestly interested in seeing how they play one another, especially Philadelphia in Denver.
Okay, say hello to our good friend Billy Cunningham. He left us to go into coaching and doing well, right?
He's doing very well, going to be coaching the All-Star team this year.
That's right. They just decided that because he had the best record. Once again, our final from the Milwaukee arena, the Milwaukee Bucks defeating the Chicago Bulls 112-90. This reminder now, immediately following the conclusion of our game here, our complete coverage of this NBA action will be going to Boca Raton, Florida for the Grand Slam of tennis. The finals live between Bjorn Borg and Jimmy Connors. 112-90, the NBA on CBS is a presentation of CBS Sports.
Back in '73, did you have the feeling that some American companies were taking advantage of the Arab oil embargo to line their own pockets? 60 Minutes says you were right. Be watching tomorrow on CBS.